Greetings and welcome to the program Music and the Law right here on Classic 263 Radio. Today I'm privileged to be joined by Mukundu, music producer, composer and multi-instrumentalist, largely known of course as a guitarist. He is also an author, all in one. Greetings Mono and welcome to the program.
Thank you, Terence, and thank you for having me.
Great. Today we would like to look at song licensing as well as royalties and what are termed as split sheets. We would also want to probably find more about songwriting culture right here in Zimbabwe. And to kickstart our program, Music and the Law, we would like to find out whether if we do have songwriting culture in Zimbabwe and where artists accept songs from other composers. Do we have such a scenario, Mono?
We don't have such a culture in Zimbabwe, unfortunately, because as we know, music is a low-income industry in Zimbabwe. So as a result, I think it's an issue whereby artists do not want to share the small pie. So artists do not want to have songs written by other composers, so they prefer to either write on their own or to plagiarize songs like traditional songs and claim that they are the ones who wrote the songs, or even church hymns and claim that they wrote the songs. I'm sure we've seen a lot of artists claiming to have written church hymns or claiming to have written traditional songs that are in the public domain.
Mm-hmm. What happens then when someone claims to have written a hymn?
Nothing can really be done because the authors are not around anymore. Mm-hmm. And it's music which is in the public domain. And music goes in the public domain usually 50 years after the death of the composer. In other countries, it's 70 years after the death of the composer. So the composer will not be around to press any charges, so they just take advantage.
Mm-hmm. But then how do composers sell songs to singers?
That's a very good question, because almost every day I receive messages from artists or from composers, or from people claiming to be composers, saying I've written such and such a number of songs and I've approached artists with my songs and they don't want to listen to my songs. And you ask them, where is the song? And you find that the song is in his head. It's not anyway. So I always tell composers, when you're selling a song, you put it on a demo. You go to a studio, put it on a demo, or any type of a demo, where the artist can hear the songs in the full context of a complete song. One thing that I have to point out as well is that songs are not sold, they are licensed. Because you are licensing the artist to use your song, to record your song, and then in return you get your royalties. So if you sell it, it means you won't get any royalties. But answering your question, when you're presenting a song to an artist, you have to present it as a demo. If you can't sing, find somebody who can sing so that the artist can hear the song. Because if you're trying to sell a song which is in your head, it's like selling a bird which is on a tree. So it's difficult for the artist to really comprehend whether it's a good song or it's not a good song.
Mm-hmm. How then do they benefit?
The songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the songwriter benefits from royalties. There's the mechanical royalties, which is the money that's obtained from the sales or from downloads. Then there's performance royalties, which is money which is paid by people like you who are broadcasters. And if the music is played in places like bars, shopping malls and so forth, they pay the money to collecting societies like Zemura, and you get your money there. And the other type of royalties is synchronization royalties. And that's when if your song is used on an advert or if it's used on a film. So those royalties, there's a very big percentage for the composer, not for the performer. the one who has sung the song or who has recorded the song is a performer, and you are the composer, so you get your share.
So who benefits more, the composer or the one who has performed the piece of music? Say for example, an advert, a commercial.
Yeah, the performer gets what known, the royalties that are known as neighboring rights, and which are royalties that are given to people like the performer or the ones who owns the master and so forth. But the composer gets a very good share. I'm not quite sure about the actual percentages, but the composer gets a very good share as the one who wrote the song.
So are we saying it's more beneficial to perhaps be the composer as well as the one who performs a certain piece of music for a commercial?
Yeah, if you are the composer and the performer as well, you have got a very good advantage than being the other half. Because if you're just the composer, then you need somebody who is going to sing, who also gets a share. And if you are the performer, this means the composer has to get a share. But if you are able to do both, then you're in a better position.
That brings me to the issue of split sheet. Take us through, how do they come in as far as song licensing, song royalties are concerned?
Yeah, a split sheet is a document that the composer sign in order to share the royalties. A complete song is 100%, is considered as 100%. So you need to agree with who is getting what percentage, who is getting the other percentages. Because at times the song is written by 2 or 3 people, and then you have to decide who is getting the larger share. And especially these days, we've got an issue where we have such types of music like dance or hip hop and reggae, where we have a rhythm culture or a beat culture, whereby artists visit studios and shop around for beats or for rhythms. So if you use a
do
rhythm,
they pay for these rhythms that they shop around for?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to. That's what I'm trying to explain. So what happens is, if you use a rhythm that has been ready-made, which was created by the producer on his own, it means by default he owns 50% of whatever you are going to produce from that rhythm. So that's payment number one. And then there are some producers who charge a fee for the rhythm. After charging a fee, then they also demand a percentage. So it all depends with how you agree. But the normal cases where the composer or the producer gets 50% of the royalties of whatever is going to be produced from the rhythm or from the beat. That one, whatever work is going to be done by the artist or by the singer is called derivative work. It means that you are working, you are creating something out of something that was in existence already. So the one who created the first part of the music, the rhythm or the beat, gets 50%.
Listeners, if you have just joined us, the program is Music and the Law, and of course today I do have the privilege of being joined by Mukundu, music producer, composer, and of course a multi-instrumentalist, largely known in the country as a guitarist and also an author, all in one. Now let's move on, Mono, to some of the elements of a song. Would you like to take us through, since this is Music and the Law? Let's look at the songs themselves. We've been talking about songs, royalties, split sheets, etc., etc. What's the most important element in a song?
Okay, yeah. A complete song usually has a chorus, a verse, an intro, a bridge, and so forth. But the most important elements or the key elements of a song is the chorus and the verse and the bridge. So usually when you have, for example, I can give an example of 3 composers. One has composed the chorus or the hook, the other one has composed the verse, and the other one has composed the bridge. Under normal circumstances, the most valuable element of a song is the chorus or the hook. That's the element which fans remember the most. For example, people remember the Mdara Chauya part. If we give an example of a song like Oliver Mtukudzi Tsokauya, people remember the Dafunga Dande, Wakomana Dafunga Dande. That's the chorus part. So the chorus part is the most valuable element of the song. So besides the 50% that has gone to the beat creator or the rhythm creator, usually the hook or the chorus is usually given, it's usually allocated something like 25% or 30% or 35%. That's the allocation usually given to the chorus. But it all depends with what you agree. And then we come to the verses. The verse is the part where the song is explained. And usually artists end up valuing the verse more because that's the part where they can really explain what they want to explain. If it's gospel artists, that's the part they want to really preach or want to convey the message that they heard on Sunday. But unfortunately, verses are worth less than the choruses, even though the choruses are repetitive and short. So verses usually are allocated something like 10% or 15%, but it all depends with what you agree. But the point here is that a chorus is more valuable than a verse. Then if there is a bridge, usually it's allocated something like 5%. That is if it's there, because there's many genres of music that do not have bridges. For example, Sungura music, Chimurenga music.
Why is that so?
I think it's just the nature. Because with Sungura music, the fans want something which is very repetitive. But when it comes to bridge,
sometimes some would call it noise. I don't know how far it can go.
It all depends, because if you don't like something, you are obviously going to come up with names on how to criticize it. But the people who love Sungura music, usually they want something that is very repetitive. The music,
a bit loud.
Yeah. So if you go to a bridge, it means you are going to break down the music and sort of like move away from the main path, and then you come back again. And Sungura fans, they don't want that. They just want something that's repetitive from start to finish.
Mm-hmm. Which genres do have bridges here?
Genres like country music, like reggae music, but not all reggae songs, but some reggae music, like for example, Coming In From the Cold
by Bob Marley.
By Bob Marley. You can even hear him say, "To the bridge." To the bridge.
Okay. And local musicians besides Sungura, which ones have bridges?
For example, one of the most popular ones is Ruarangu, because it goes Nechirimo Chichichi, but when it goes to Muzuvam da 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 you can feel that the music has changed. It's sort of like it's another song. That's the bridge part.
Okay.
Then after that bridge, it goes big again.
When you talked about the chorus, the hooks, and all that kind of stuff, are these done by different musicians in a song, different artists? And then how, if that's correct, then how are the royalties going to be split? Okay. Do we have so many people coming in a song? That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happens is it's something that's written on the split sheet, and it depends with how many people we have participated on the song. Most songs is usually one person who just writes on his own. But these days, like I mentioned earlier, we have producers who create beats and rhythms. And then at times we've got producers who can contribute the chorus or the verse or the bridge, or even some artists can ask other composers to help them compose, and then they end up being 2 or 3 composers on a single song. That's when you need a split sheet. That's when you decide, because a split sheet is not decided by by Zemura or by a collecting society. It's the composers themselves. So usually it's encouraged to carry split sheets when you write a song, and you have to sign it before the music is released. Because what happens is usually when the music is released already, and you start you want to start to agree on percentage, you end up fighting, especially if the song becomes a hit. So it's best to agree soon after writing the song, soon after the session. Like what I do is I keep split sheets in my studio, so that if we ever co-write, we sign the split sheet there and there, so that we just agree on the spot which percentages are we allocating to each composer. Because if you want to decide after the music is released, if it becomes a hit, you end up fighting.
Yeah. If I create a beat or perhaps a rhythm, like you have rightly mentioned, if you take that rhythm from me and another artist writes on it, do you have to pay me for that?
Yeah, I have to. Because like I mentioned earlier, it's licensing. So if you create a rhythm, you are going to license it to different people. For example, in reggae music and dancehall, you might find one rhythm with several artists. But usually in R&B and hip-hop, usually it's one beat for one artist. You don't have to license it to somebody else. So one rhythm can have 10 artists, and all of those 10 artists have to give me, or to give you your 50%, because you are the one who created the rhythm. When we say songwriting, we don't mean taking a paper and a pen, but songwriting is in the head. When you take a paper and a pen, you are just documenting so that you don't forget. I'm saying that because I always hear my artists me, I don't write, I just go on the mic and just start singing. But that element of creating a song in your head, that's the writing part. If you are going to take a paper and a pen and write things down, you are just documenting so that you don't forget. But otherwise, the writing process is in your head. So writing and composing, those two words are synonymous when it comes to music.
Yeah, because we do have some artists who say that they dream, actually.
Yeah, but the funny thing
write
is...
songs when they are asleep.
The funny thing is, most people that I have met who claim to dream songs, who claim to be given songs, it's either by God or by ancestral spirits, they've got the worst songs. So when my songs are not shatters, what to do? So I always ask myself, is God such a bad composer, or our ancestral spirits such bad composers? Because it's very rare to hear very good composers. People like Brian Rusike, Oliver Mtukudzi, Steve Makoni. It's very rare for you to hear such good composers claiming to have been given a song by God, or to have been given a song by the Holy Spirit or by Mizimu. Yeah, it's always people who have got the worst songs. So I wonder, so to me, what I believe is, if you're a builder, you are bound to dream about building, because your mind carries on working even if you are fast asleep. If you're a broadcaster like you, I'm sure there are times when you dream being on air, or it happens. If you are about to wed, like for example, you are wedding 2 days from now, then several times you are going to dream being on the pulpit, a gown, because it happens, because your brains carry on working when you are asleep. So if you're a composer as well, your brains carry on working even if you are fast asleep. So you can compose a song in your sleep. That's very normal. I've done it several times. But it doesn't mean that God has given me a song, because I believe that God doesn't spoon feed us. When He gives you the talent,
you need to be creative.
And
also.
Then you use your talent on your own, or your brains can create something on their own. But I think Mari has got a lot of other issues to deal with than to write songs for people. It's mama issues that it doesn't make sense. I think people are abusing the name of God, and people have created God in their own image.
That brings me to my next question here. What then is the difference between what we call a music producer and an executive producer? I know people usually confuse the two.
Yeah, that's a very good question. An executive producer is the one who funds the project, the one who pays for the studio time, the one who pays for the session musicians, the one who gets the work going financially on the financial side. That's an
No
executive
input to
producer.
the
No
product.
input to the product. It's just financing the product. That's an executive producer. Then when it comes to the music producer, is the one in charge of the music part. So there's a difference between the two, and even the royalties between the two are different. Because the producer, the music producer is awarded what are known as producer points. And it's usually 2%, 3%, it's usually less than 5%. And a fee, if he charges a fee. And then the executive producer is the one who owns the masters. I'm sure these days you hear a lot of stories about masters. And
Yeah, I used to read more about executive producers during the days of Grammar,
Exactly.
ZBC, RTP, and the like.
Yeah, because if you finance the project like what Grammar used to do, they would record you on loan, meaning they would record you for free, and then they would take their money from the sales or from other royalties. So what they would do is they are the ones who own the master, or the sound recording. Kudara items, my masters, what they used to call masters, were the actual tapes on. But these days, any CD can be a master. So while what we call a master today is the legal right to own the sound recording. That's what we call masters today. So the one who owns the masters, usually they get 85% by default. And then the artist gets 15% by default. But as usual with any contract, usually you discuss, especially when your name gets bigger. Some artists will get 20%, but under normal circumstances, the executive producer is the one who gets the lion's share of the royalties. And then, like I said, usually they get 85%, and then the artists get 15%.
Are you an executive producer yourself?
No.
Because I've seen you working with quite a number of artists.
These days, the system is different in Zimbabwe. In fact, Zimbabwe right now is operating totally differently from the rest of the world. Because right
Why
now,
is that so?
It's that way because right now we don't have any record labels in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
We don't have even a single record label in Zimbabwe right now. And there is because of the economic situation. It's also because of
What are record labels?
they scout talent, and then they offer the business side, the whole business side of restaurant music. It's run by the record labels. They record you on loan, they market your music, they even do radio plug-in, Kunza music, kuma radios, and do all the, they even do artist development, training
They
the
even
artists.
give you vehicles?
That will be a loan. Usually they give you a signing fee. If they sign you, you are given a loan, which is a signing fee, but they'll get the money from the sales. So a record label is a huge corporation. It's a huge corporation which can give you a loan if don't think about borrowing. So it's a corporation that is run professionally. And most people these days, they think if you own a studio, you own a record label. That's totally
I was about
different.
to ask whether Monolio Studios is a record label.
No,
as
it's
well.
just a studio.
It's just a studio.
Because I don't have money to pay anybody.
But of course, one day would like to develop to be a record label.
Yeah, but at the moment the environment is not conducive. It's totally not conducive.
What takes one to come up with a record label?
Yeah, you need the finances, you need the money, and the environment has to be good as well. Because right now, even if you start a record label, you're supposed to recoup your money from the sales. In my sales, they said right now they're going to pirate us. They're going to music pirates. So we totally don't have structures in the music industry. So a record label is the epitome of
Who
of
should come up
structures.
with structures in the music industry?
Is the record label.
Is the record label?
Yeah. So right now, the environment is not good, and that's why we are lagging behind. Because people always ask, why is it the Zimbabwe music industry is lagging behind Nigeria, South Africa, Tanzania? It's because South Africa, Tanzania, Nigeria, they have record labels, and they even have international record labels like Sony. So it's very easy for their music to put it. Because most people think for you to be successful in the music industry, all you need is talent. That's not true. Talent is just a portion. And at times you don't even need the talent. You can even succeed without talent. So if you don't have structures and above all funding, if you don't have funding, you won't go anywhere. About music, there's a difference between a buzz and a hit. A buzz, you know, that's a potential. It shows potential. This song
doesn't go anywhere.
But it doesn't go anywhere. That's why most of my hits that we have today, or what we call hits, they don't last past 2 weeks. Because they don't have financial backing. So financial backing is the biggest element that's offered by record labels. That's why in the States right now we've got artists like People Bryson, artists like Gladys Knight. Most people think those people are dead, but if you go to their websites,
Lionel Richie, they're still alive.
Yeah, they're still alive. But the reason why they are not producing hits that as they used to is because they are not signed to record labels anymore. So you cannot do it yourself. Because record labels.
So is it a Zimbabwean scenario, or it's a worldwide scenario?
Zimbabwe is operating totally different from the rest of the world, because right now we don't have record labels, but anywhere you go in the world there are record labels. And there's a misconception the internet has replaced record labels. The internet is there to work hand in hand with the record labels, but it has not replaced record labels. Even when it comes to followers and views and everything, those under record labels have got the biggest followers, they've got the biggest number of views and so forth. So our biggest problem right now, our biggest setback is lack of record labels, lack of structures, lack of funding. So
but I was of the opinion that a good number of our artists are actually managing through live shows rather than sales. Is that the scenario?
No, it's not, because right now,
especially when they go overseas.
But right now we've got very few real international artists. And it's also due to the lack of record labels. Because my record labels don't have structures themselves to consolidate the international. Right now, the only international artists we have since year 2000 is Mukundu. All the other artists are going to perform for Zimbabweans. It's just like the same as performing Kumbari. Mariano Gutambira is the same one. So when it comes to live shows, right now, especially post-COVID, things have really gone down. My bands that are playing in nightclubs these days, usually they're paid anything between $100 to $400. It's very rare to marry for $400. And imagine you're 10 people and you are supposed to supposed to share. So you'll be playing for the whole night and get paid $20. That's the situation right now. So right now the music industry is in total chaos. The intensive care unit right now as we speak.
Jeez. So is it then advisable to join organizations like Zemura?
It's very advisable.
Why?
Because I don't think things are going to remain like this forever. I think it's a phase which will pass. And besides that, unoza wangu gara pamba wakachoboka songonzi uyatore pane ka $200 kari kuno unoza kanongonakidziso. So I think it's advisable because if your song gets a lot of airplay, there'll be some money for you at Zemura, because the money comes from airplay, it comes from other places like I mentioned earlier. So it's very advisable to join Collecting Society, because there's no way you can come because ZBC kunokuru one over nduda mari yangu yema sales. Okay. Because things work through channels. So ZBC will not give you mari yangu. Sorry, takaridza song yako for 2 months ichirira serekisa o mari yako. Everything works through channels. And the normal channel is that the money is paid through a collecting society. And the collecting society that we have in Zimbabwe is Zemura.
Mukundu, music producer, composer, and multi-instrumentalist. Of course, I know you love your guitar very much.
Yeah.
And you're also an author. You've written 2 books, that is?
3.
3 books so far. And you're also a proprietor of Monolio Studios, hoping that one day we'll have a record label.
Record label, yeah.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
Listeners, until next week, bye-bye for now.
Well, it's monosophical. It is what it is. We say it like it is.